dancing needle fucks me up, dude.
Yeah, it's a really
It's
good thing we were able to put the top player council on our payroll so they could keep muskets off the tier list.
Yeah, nobody must know that Musket is actually playable and competent and a good deck to be climbing with. It just cannot be allowed to happen.
Yeah, we're not trying to get balanced nerfed a fourth time is all I'll say about that. Welcome everybody. This is going to be perhaps a two-part tier list with myself and Mechlord Emperor Mechlord. Please introduce yourself.
Mechlord, Emperor Mechlord. Hey, it's me. I am the last king of France, and I've been playing Duel Links for longer than I'd like to admit. And today we're looking at cards in the context of Duel Links.
Yes.
This is a heads up so that if I post this video on the Duel Links subreddit, it will not get removed by moderators. This is about Duel Links!
Oh no, not the moderators. The only thing worse than Discord moderators or Reddit moderators. You've been showing me all the DMs you've been getting from the Reddit mods asking you to be their Reddit kit, and I didn't even know that fucking existed. So they're holding your videos like ransom, right? And it's like if you don't RP with them, they take them down or something you were talking about?
Yeah, well, let's just say I've been RPing way too much lately. I'd like it to
This is why
stop.
you never play D-side Kaiba, folks. That's a rabbit hole that you don't want to go down. So as you can see, we've got the most official tiers. We've sort of understood that not a lot of people are vibing with the numbered tier systems that DLM has been using. So we've contacted a team of statistic analysts and management scientists, and we've constructed a more objective tier list system here. We've got the best tier, which is going to be just one card, the single best main deck staple you can be playing in Duel Links, game-winning cards that, if you activate, very well could win you the game on their own or turn the duel around from a losing position. Strong cards maybe won't win the game on their own, but will be a very powerful piece of interaction, either going first or board-breaking potential going second. Playable, good enough if you don't have any of the stronger cards. These are certainly not going to lose you games if you draw them. Suboptimal, ideally, you're not going to be playing these at all. And penis tier for penis cards.
I just think that penis is a really appropriate descriptive for the cards that are going to be there. I just want to make clear that it is in no way something that should be considered positive. I know penis is very good in a lot of contexts, not in this one.
Yeah, avoid penis as much as possible. So these are the cards we're going to be looking at. There might be more, but we didn't include them here. If you're upset by a card not being here, it's important to remember that I don't care, so don't tell me that you're upset.
It's very important that you comment, that you subscribe to make sure that Skep sees your comment, and that you make sure to like and share the video with your friends so that it gains, your comment gains traction in regard to Skep's point of view.
And you should also screenshot your comment and post it to Reddit and be like, can we get some upvotes? I just dunked on this VTube loser who didn't put fucking Battling Boxer Veil. I forget. That's actually a card I wanted to put on this list and I forgot it. Shit. It's fine. No one's playing that card. Is there any card on the page that's particularly jumping out at you, Mechlord, that you want to talk about first?
There's the huge one that is missing. Where's Cracking Dragon?
Well, Cracking Dragon, of course, is only really good in decks that focus on dark monsters, such as Steel Swarm. I know it's making a big splash in those decks. You're sending stuff like a Treeborn Frog off of Neos Fusion, and then you're reviving the Treeborn Frog and then tributing Brave Neos and Swap Frog for Cracking Dragon, which is a much better card than Brave Neos, of course, as we've seen with the Neos engine basically completely disappearing from hero decks. Even they're taking out the hero engine and they're like, I don't want to normal summon Neos without tributing. I want to tribute summon Cracking Dragon without tributing. And as you've been talking about as well, we've been seeing a huge move off of hero from Favorite Duel to the Might of Hanoi. So you're definitely correct about Cracking Dragon not being here, but I think it's a little more specifically a hero boss monster rather than a generic tech, because for some reason Rockets haven't been playing it as much as heroes as we've been seeing, which is very interesting.
Yeah, well, they're not worthy. No, I think the card that immediately should be the point of reference for this discussion is probably Monster Reborn. Like, how good do we think Monster Reborn is? And is it good enough to be a de facto limit one that you're gonna put in every deck. I see that you've put it in strong.
I just wanted to put it in
think,
strong just because it's in the middle of the tier list, and as we move
yeah,
it
and
up
I
and
think
down,
I actually agree with that. I don't think there's too
we can
many
move it up and
scenarios
down
in
if we
which
want.
Monster Reborns wins the game on its own, but I just think it's a really good extender. Most of the need is a good comeback option, you know?
Yeah, I think Monster Reborn, like we're seeing in the TCG, or we're not seeing much. It's not seeing much play in the TCG right now, but as we were seeing when it came back, Monster Reborn is better used as an extender than like reviving a boss monster. But with how Duel Links format works specifically, the latter application of actually reviving a boss monster does come up more. It's just the problem of most archetypes, especially in today's metagame, want another Limit 1 staple. I'm thinking Salamangreat want they need Gazelle. They can't play if they don't have Gazelle. Goki need Rhoda more than they need this, and Mech Knight needs Secrets. So for those three decks, we're obviously not seeing Monster Reborn, but also decks that aren't even on that level have just been getting Limit 1 cards. Metal Foes, Draco Slayer, Madolche, for example. And it's like they're sort of self-nerfing Monster Reborn by releasing so many Limit 1 URs, both through bundles and the card trader, that it sort of limits the ability of Monster Reborn to be as generic a staple as, say, something that isn't as strong, but is not conflicting, like, say, Forbidden Chalice. I'm not saying Forbidden Chalice is stronger or less strong than Monster Reborn. I'm just bringing it up here so you can see it. You can't play Monster Reborn in a lot of new decks that have those Limit 1 cards that I think sort of bring it down from game winning to just very strong, in my opinion.
Yeah, and even in decks in which you can play it, like Code Talkers immediately come to mind. You play it in Galaxy, but you play like 6 other Reborn spells in Galaxy, so it doesn't really matter if this one is a shiny or not. Even in decks in which you can play Monster Reborn, sometimes you probably don't even need to. There's so many other stuff that you could be playing. Rhoda immediately comes to mind, but like,
sorry to interrupt you. I was just thinking on the lines of like revival spells. Like most decks are making Link ones, especially with Ibli running around and people playing Link Disciple. That World Legacy Succession can fill the void of Monster Reborn in a lot of cases. I feel like also a lot of Link monsters. I'm thinking, I guess Decode Talker specifically, do point to your field. Same with Sunlight Wolf, so you can get utility out of World Legacy Succession that way. That sort of apes Monster Reborn's role, but I don't feel comfortable putting it lower than Strong because it is very good.
yeah, I think there's one limited one generic card that is better than Monster Reborn. It is Treacherous Trapple.
Right. How could I
I
forget?
think TTH is still game winning. I absolutely hate this card.
Mm-hmm.
It just feels so incredibly unfair to trade. Basically, your opponent's board for just one card in the best of scenarios. And even in scenarios in which you're just like disrupting one monster by tributing one of yours. First of all, there's so many decks that have like inherent protection that you're maybe not losing your own monster. God damn it, Galaxy.
Oh,
Yeah, or
Salamangreat. And I think
well, you can't choose it in Salamangreat,
Yeah.
but you could for a while, and it was very good.
Yeah, I think Treacherous is in a really weird place, and it's sort of the same thing with Monster Reborn in that I feel like because it's Limit 1, um, basically any deck that would want to play this would also maybe consider playing Rhoda or any of the Limit 1 links or even Monster Reborn. But like it is such a strong card. I just haven't seen it anywhere. I will agree that if you resolve it, it can be game winning. But the only deck that I can think of that I would personally play this specific Limit 1 in that I still own is I think exactly Evil Eye, and I don't I don't think it should come back to 2 or anything because it's the monster equivalent of Hey Trunade for the most part. But yeah,
Yeah, no, I think the fact that it does conflict with like other limit ones is very good for keeping this card at bay. Like otherwise, you could easily, if it was still limited, you could be playing this in Galaxy again. You could be playing this in PK probably. You could be playing this in a bunch of decks that this really doesn't need to exist in.
let's take a look at a trifecta of cards that sort of do similar things. That being Skill Successor, Skill Prisoner. Do not tell me that I don't have Skill Prisoner here. I am going to
Skill
start.
Prisoner is in the Forbidden Chalice. I see it right next to a Skill Kuribo. It's Skill Prisoner, right?
Skill, yeah, Skill. This is Skill Successor. We have Skill
Skill
Prisoner and
Prisoner.
Breakthrough Skill. Where's Skill Prisoner?
It is
Oh, here we
last
go. Here we
row.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah, so these three are not necessarily the most powerful form, particularly in terms of breakthrough skill, not the most powerful form of effect negation, but all of them share utility in that you can basically activate them twice and can be played at anything. We can talk about Prisoner first because it's on the limited list, and then we can talk about Breakthrough last because it's, I guess, the highest rarity.
Not sure why Skill Prisoner is on the limited list, to be honest.
BA,
Like, I know it was used in BAs, but is it really that good? I don't
I
know.
feel
All it does is basically insulate one monster, so there's not many scenarios in which that's actually
I feel like
like
it's
something that you want. It only protects against monster effects, doesn't it?
let me pull up the PNG. Does it? I thought it was just an effect that targets. So that does impact my evaluation of it. So I think it
I'd put
protects.
it there in you first.
I was gonna say monster effects that target are still really strong. Malsin is one of the best cards in the game. Nightmare Unicorn, Nightmare Cerberus. We've got Metalfoes Mithrilium, Metalfoes Orichalc, Metalfoes Alcahest. There's
Galaxy
just
Eyes, Piss on
yeah,
My Carpet Dragon.
yeah. I think it's definitely we just left Forbidden Chalice up here. I'm gonna put Forbidden Chalice back down there. We'll talk about it later. I feel like I feel like it belongs in strong, but we can move it down to playable depending on how you're feeling. Losing
I was gonna
application.
put it in suboptimal. I
Really?
think it's really, yeah. I don't think it's flexible enough, but it's definitely
That's
like
true.
in
That's
the
true. That's true.
borderline between playable and suboptimal. You know,
Yeah, I
I feel like
think
there's not, especially because it's limited 3, and you
yeah.
could be playing something
Yeah,
like
you're absolutely
a
right.
better limited 3 card. I think that's definitely something going against it.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about this in like the best case scenario, in which case obviously it was strong enough to be limited. But I think you're right. Looking at the metagame overall, it's definitely suboptimal. If you're worried about targeting, play Lanced. If you're worried about monster effects, I mean, you're probably playing Book of Moon, anyway. So I feel like between those two options, this doesn't really have a lot of wiggle room in any deck that isn't exactly BA. Skill Successor. This card's funny. I think this card's penis, but I like it
Yeah,
a
it's
lot.
isn't it just an attack boost?
It is a 400 attack boost when you flip it up and an 800 attack boost when you banish it. And here's the best part, you can only banish it on your turn, so you can't even use it as a battle trick on your opponent's
You
turn.
can't banish it on your opponent's turn. That's funny. No way.
Yeah, I know this because it's in the Master Duel starter deck. I love this
Oh
card
my
so
god.
much. It's so ass.
Okay, yeah, this is the definition of a penis
It
card.
is!
It's just the worst.
I love Skill Successor, but it's so ass. And I think at the top of the totem pole, I don't think this card's too great right now. I've been really wanting to find a home for it because I have 2 copies of it. I think Breakthrough Skill is either at the bottom of playable or the top of suboptimal, personally.
I think it's playable. Yeah, I think it's not a bad card, but it's kind of weak compared to some other very specific, like Forbidden Chalice that was up there. I think is better in most situations than I'd put Forbidden Chalice even in potentially strong or even game winning, just because it's a quick play, accessible. It
Yeah.
can be used as a damage step trick if need be.
And for the longest
Breakthrough
time-
3 is basically just one negate and then another negate.
Also
and it's
only
not-
on your turn, which is kind of fucked.
Wait, no.
Yeah.
No. Breakthrough skill can be both. Oh my god, if
You
it's
can
on one of
activate
your
it. You
turns.
can activate it from the field on both.
You're
turns.
right. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
That's why I was saying suboptimal. I remember when it first came out, we were like, you can play it in Harpies, and I was like, this is not going to break Harpies any more than it's already broken at the time of
Oh
its
wow! Why would you play this over Forbidden Chalice and Harpies?
But speaking of Forbidden Chalice, for the longest time when Book of Moon was a pay-to-get card, I was rocking 3 Forbidden Chalice in like all my decks, and I gotta tell you, it felt pretty
Yeah,
damn
so was
great.
I.
Yeah, I like this card a
essentially
lot.
there was no difference between Book of Mooning the Rhinoceros and Book of Mooning Forbidden Chalicing the Rhinoceros. Like basically the same thing. Like it changed nowadays. I think Book of Moon is the better card, but
For
back
sure.
then it was not all that. Well, Book of Moon was always the better card, but Forbidden Chalice is good.
I think we could even tell me if I'm crazy. Move Forbidden Chalice above Monster Reborn. Just 'cause
Yeah,
it's not on the
I
list.
think you can. I think definitely.
Yeah, I love Forbidden Chalice. All my homies love Forbidden Chalice. Let's talk about a card I really want to be good because I was convinced it was good and didn't reset Link Revolution until I pulled my first copy. I think Pot of Duality definitely better than Skill Prisoner just because it has a couple homes, but it's not good, unfortunately.
I think it is good. Not strong but playable, provided your deck can accommodate for it. Like there's deck in which it is very good, decks that want to go second, maybe have a suboptimal setup going first. Like you can reasonably play this in Abyss Actors, because you're planning on going first and just drawing, I don't know, Wild Herb into Sassy Rookie, set the Sassy Rookie, pass, which is mediocre, but it works, right?
Yeah,
You
but
can
I
use
think
it.
even this
People who played
suboptimal.
it in Noids
Yeah,
in order to have more ways to find vanishment, and it works best in decks that don't care about special summoning in the
yeah.
main phase, like War Rocks, your Zengers, this sort of stuff. Other than that, it's just not something that you should consider unless your deck is built around it.
I was watching your new Infernoid video. Infernoids already have 20 playables is like the thing. Is because I think you need not only a deck that doesn't want to special summon a ton, but also that doesn't already have 20 playable cards. Like I don't think I'd cut 3 cards out of your earlier Infernoid list for Pot of Duality. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
but look, sometimes I don't open Vanishment, and I'm like, if only I had Duality.
Maybe
Nice.
maybe if I cut one of the vanishments and 2 other cards for 3 duality, I'd open it more. Yeah, I don't know.
Nah, yeah, this is
I feel
this is a
top
good
is
card in
suboptimal.
suboptimal
Yeah,
decks. So I'd say it's
that's the best way of
playable.
putting it. It really is. It's a great card in
You can play this in
suboptimal
Tellarknights, but
decks.
why would you play Tellarknights in the
I
year of our
love
Lord
Teller Knights.
2024?
As someone who loves Teller Knight, do not play this in Teller Knight.
As someone who hates Tellarknights, do not play Tellarknights.
Let's talk about the next couple of trap holes we got. We got the 2 UR trap holes,
Floodgate.
Floodgate and Bottomless.
I think Bottomless is the better of the two.
Really? Just because
Yeah,
it's not on the
especially in the
limit
current
3?
formats in which it's not limited 3 is the reason why I think it's better, basically. But it does deal with a lot of like threats. I can't think of too many cards that go under the bottomless threshold. There's Decatron, but Gazelle is like 1500. All the Mech Knights are 1500s. All the Galaxies are 1500. And the fact that it banishes means there's basically no way to recover this. Like you floodgate a Galaxy Ice player that used Shuffle Reborn to bring back Galaxy, they can still use the Shuffle Reborn graveyard effect to shuffle the Galaxy back in the deck and draw another card, and maybe they can keep going from there. You banish that guy, they just concede on the spot. That's me saying this with all the experience that I have as an Infernoid player.
I'm fine keeping it in strong then. I don't know. Floodgate's like weird because the limit 3 list really keeps it down. I want to keep
Yeah.
the Trinity. I call them the Trinity, even though they're not nearly as strong as like the GOAT format Trinity relative to the format. But like the Trinity of limit 3 selection box traps are just like power creep any other limit 3 trap card that like you would never play this over, like you would never play this over Compulse and then and then replace Floodgate with Warning Point if you needed 3
Unless
summon
you're
bonuses.
exactly playing Stole, Burn, something like this. I guess you could make an argument for it in Mech Knight because that's one more free column for Blue Sky, but yeah.
I don't even want to put either of them in strong, to tell you the truth.
Oh, no, I guess playable is fine.
Yeah, we can put them. Do we think they're both better than Breakthrough?
I think they're both better than Breakthrough, yeah. Mind Control.
Mind
No,
Control.
wait, it's not Mind Control. Wait, is it Mind
Yes,
Control? What
this
is
is
it
Mind
called?
Control.
There's so many of those. There's like Brain Control, that's an SI, some Minibug that's mostly garbage.
Brain Control,
to...
I do not respect ever since they errated it to put it on here. But yeah, this is Mind Control.
Oh yeah, Brain Control is the errated one. Mind Control is the one that is limited in the TCG to this day. But it doesn't matter because
We have Change
basically
Apart.
you use it for the same thing you use it in Duel Links, which is still a problematic monster, or just a monster, and then use it as link pads.
I think because we can't choose to go first or second, I do not want to put this in higher than playable, but we could maybe put it at the top. I haven't even seen this card used on a ranked, but I have seen people play it. It's just whenever I see it played, I see it people playing one of this, one Compulse, one IDP.
Yeah,
like one
it's
each limit 3. It's
definitely
weird.
it's a very sacky card, so you're never going to see it at more than one because it does conflict with other limited 3 cards,
And it also doesn't do enough going first. because you can't.
Yeah, definitely. So it's one of these cards that you're going to lose to. You're going to be like, God damn it, this card needs to not exist.
Mhm.
Which is my immediate gut reaction is to put him strong for this reason. I think it's in the borderline between strong and playable. I think like it's probably the most playable of these. Like it's not gonna. There are scenarios in which it will win you games. There are scenarios in which it's basically a brick. So
I feel like it wins you games in situations in which your opponent is throwing, though, because like if you're opening a dead card going first and your opponent doesn't kill you, they're either throwing by playing a completely penis deck or they threw lethal somehow, because it's so easy to get 4,000 damage on board.
yeah,
I
it's a
feel like.
win more card definitely. What's this one next to Sphere and Karibo? Mistaken arrest? No, shared ride, right?
Yeah. Okay. I'm glad you mentioned that one. I'm gonna cut this out, but I'm gonna tell you about this time I fought this in KC Cup for fucking
Oh my
lethal.
god.
That was like I gotta put this card on here because for this format specifically with Goki being both one of the best decks, Mech Knights adding between 1 and 2 cards between blue sky and purple, and Salamangreat having 2 different search spells and a Stratos in Synapse Mining, Salamangreat Circle, and Lady Debug, there's an argument that this card is at the very least playable in an environment where you can expect to fight those 3 decks in particular.
I think like the story is awesome, and you should definitely not cut it. It's very funny. There's a lot of decks that do add stuff. The question is, how good is it compared to very specifically Droll and Lockbird? Droll and Lockbird is better going first, and Droll and Lockbird does not really see play going first anyway. Doesn't see play at all. I think Droll and Lockbird is like more playable than this card.
I feel like
But
it's
Shared
really
Red is
weird
definitely
because I feel like Droll and Lockbird is worse in Duel Links specifically because like I feel like Droll and Lock only hits Goki in an effective capacity, whereas Shared Ride, you're still gonna get 1 or 2 draws off of a Mech Knight player.
Drawn and Lock against Mech Knight. Like if you draw and lock the purple Nightfall, they can't get a good blue sky. You know,
Right. And they
if
also can't
you,
add the secrets, I guess, as well.
I don't like the fact that you can't use it going first. Maybe if this was like a hand trap, a monster that you could discard, like a level 2 Earth Insect with 500 attack.
I think, yeah, I
Uh,
understand you want the limit 1 maxi bundle. I understand. I hear
God,
you.
imagine how fucking dog shit this would make the game.
I'm fine with putting them both in suboptimal. I do think Shared Ride is better than Droll. You
Yeah, in
said
the
you couldn't
context of
use.
Duel Links, you're probably right. It's
Yeah.
probably better to draw a card out of 20 than a card out of 40.
Let's talk about the trifecta of penis free-to-play battle traps. Oh, did I spoil what tier I think they belong in? I think Karibo's the worst because it's dark attribute, and I think Temperance is better because it's light attribute, which sets up chaos plays because most decks you're playing these shit cards in are going to be dark focused. And then Bacon Saver is like what a card you send off of Neos Fusion if you're a
Yeah, I
shithead
think,
hero
okay,
player.
I think Bacon Saber is penis.
Mm-hmm.
Even for Neo's decks, this is just such a suboptimal card you could stand where there's so many other cards that want to be in the graveyard mode. I think that Temperance and Karibo are at least suboptimal. Like
Really?
they're cringe playable in some very specific defensive decks. They're not as good as Skytroid, obviously. But the fact that Temperance can be searched with like Desperado if you're still playing that, potentially used for BLS or Leviania shenanigans. The fact that Temperance is a level 6 is kind of fun. Is it a level 6?
It
I think it's
is.
funny too because it does work with the like there's a world where you can somehow have a dragon roar in the grave, revive it for dragon art, tribute for Temperance, and then you make a rank 6. Which is probably the worst play that you could be making. But I think like these are suboptimal, and if you like playing a 30 cards list with 6 of these, you should probably first and foremost cut all 6 of these because
Yeah.
they're not winning you games.
And if you really need a battle fader, I mean, going second, this is or going first, you can still set Book of Moon, which can just be battle fader. If we're putting this back on here, where do we want to put Book of Moon? Just sort
I
of.
think Book of Winning is game winning.
I
Like
would
even to
agree.
this
I
day.
would agree. Yeah, Book of Moon is definitely game winning. I would put it
Incredible
even up.
disruption. One of like the best styles to Photon Lord or Decotron having sang Deviati, or just even Mech Knights. Technically, if you Book of Moon the Mech Knight that is in the column in which you're activating effects and stuff. No, it's just such a good card. Keeps your opponent from being able to make extra deck summons. It's just incredibly good card.
Yeah, and speaking of game-winning cards, the sort of two best, I think, non-limit 3 back row, Book of Moon and Warning Point, and I think the only thing keeping Warning Point from sort of overtaking Book of Moon is both A, you can't dream ticket it, and B, the fact that we're not seeing a lot of Link boss monsters, with the exception of Morningstar. Like Code Talker, I haven't really seen show up that much, and if they do show up, they usually fold to like one piece of interaction, and they can't make Decode Talker pass. But like until we see like Borreload pass or like more competent decks being able to link spam and end on a link monster worth a fuck, like none of the link monsters with quick effects are good enough to end on going first. Like Firewall pass isn't strong enough. So Book of Moon, I still think, is a great piece of interaction going second, because most boss monsters are susceptible to it right now. And as a result, I think I feel comfortable putting it more game winning than Warning Point, although in high roll cases, Warning Point does obviously do
Yeah,
a
that's the
ton.
thing. I think Warning Point suffers from being a trap, so you can't use it going first. But there's definitely scenarios in which like it single-handedly wins you the game. Like you play against Cold Talkers, you Warning Point the L phase. That's the end of the game. You play against the first Mech Knight that gets summoned every turn. That's the end of the game. You play it against Galaxy Eyes Spot on Dragon. Well, no, it's an incredibly good card. I felt kind of negative about it because it's a trap. You can't use it going first. It's probably game winning. You're probably right. I'm probably just coping.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm definitely coping. Ignore me.
Let's talk about sort of Kiteroid. We should have
Piece
talked
of
about
shit.
Yeah, I fucking hate this card.
Garbage card. Fuck this guy.
Unfortunately, I do think it's playable.
It is playable. It's not as strong as it used to be because every other deck makes several big beaters. So even if you block 2 attacks, it doesn't matter because they still have like at least 1 or 2 more attack that they can win the game with.
And speaking of,
and Destiny draw decks are not as good as they used to be. So just
what is it? Kiteroid number 2 and Kiteroid number 3. I want to put.
I think these are penis.
I think Hollowed Life Barrier is suboptimal, specifically because there are decks that want to discard and also not die. Rainbow Life is like the bottom of penis, because the only people that play it are people that don't know that Hollowed Life Barrier's text doesn't describe what the card does.
Yeah, that's true. I guess Hollowed Life Barrier is a fun trick you can pull.
In Blue Eyes specifically.
In Blue Eyes, and a couple more decks.
Like, how funny is that? You think you're going for lethal, they protect themselves, and then summon a Dragon Spirit of White and banish your set Book of Moon. That's fun.
That is true. You can play it in RPs too. You
That's
discard.
correct, yeah. Wait, no, you can't,
because
your Swallow's Nest is at 2, and this is still. Did you know this is at 2?
Oh my god, it is. That's right, because you could use it in. I remember using it in Infernities of all things to not immediately die. No, wait, this is cool. You can use it in Paleozoics. That's a deck, right? I think it's time we talk about back row removal. Like, there's 4 cards that count as back row removal there. Like the 4 that immediately come to mind.
Yeah, where's the last one?
Yep.
Night Beam. Oh, and then we can also throw in Storm as well.
Oh yeah, the 5th one. Storm is suboptimal because it's limited 1. No,
it's suboptimal because it's limited 1 and would be game winning if it wasn't.
Yeah, probably you'd play it in there's so many decks that want to have their shit destroyed. Not so many. There's a couple of them, but it's so good otherwise, especially because you can chain the stuff that you destroy. No, it's a good card, but it's limited 1.
Let me throw out some thoughts on the last 2 cards. Obviously, these 2 ones are the ones that are like more important to talk about. I think there is a difference between Galaxy Cyclone and Night Beam. I think Night Beam is penis. I think Galaxy Cyclone is playable in that I'm not happy about it, but it does worth mentioning that it is searchable with fucking Photon Lord, and
Yep.
it is activatable twice. It is spell speed 1, but there might be situations in which they put Cosmic Cyclone back to 3. You're like, fuck it, I'll just try this in my Phantom Knights deck or something. I think it's either the bottom of playable or the top of suboptimal ahead of Storm.
I think it's in the middle of playable. I think it's better than Breakthrough Skill, for instance. Because it is searchable with Photon Lord, because it is usable in the graveyard against face-up cards like Secrets.
Can you pay the cost for this under Necro Valley? Like banish this as cost and then resolve the effect?
I don't know. I don't think... No, you can't, because you can't banish under Necro Valley, like, at all. I still think it's kind of good. Like, if you're playing... You can play it in
out
BAs.
Secrets. That's worth something, right?
Yeah. I think Night Beam is suboptimal. I think the fact that you can't chain the card that you target with is going to trip up some less experienced players that would otherwise be like, oh, well, like, are you sure I'm going to wait a long time until I activate Void Fist instead of just flipping it and draw like you should? I wouldn't say it's penis.
I genuinely think Night Beam is worse than Temperance. I'm gonna be honest. I think
it's under Temperance, but I think it's better than fucking Skill Successor.
Okay, fine.
For that matter, I think Karibo is better than Skill Successor.
Okay, we'll put. What about Bacon Saver? Bacon Saver better than Skill Successor? You know, it has to be. better.
God, probably.
I'm gonna put Bacon Saver at the top.
I think even Rainbow Life is better than Skill Successor. Like Bacon Saver is better than Karibo, probably.
Yeah. Okay. I was saving this card like this is gonna be like suboptimal or playable. What the fuck was I thinking? It's awful. It's worse than Reinforcements on your turn. That's awesome.
Which one do you think is better between Cosmic Cyclone, that is, and MST?
Cosmic Cyclone, too much shit floats.
I'm not sure if there's like so much shit that floats unless...
I will say I did lose
some protection.
A game to MSTing, and I would have won it if I had Cosmic Cyclone. I popped a bluff back row with MST, which happened to be a Necroz spell, which turned on their Valkyris and lost me the game.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember like playing Cosmic Cyclone against Neos Fusion, and you would they would activate Neos Fusion, and you would chain the Cyclone specifically so that they could not activate the fusion effect in Grave. I think they're both really good.
Oh, for sure. They're definitely within.
I want to play MST more often than Cyclone because I don't like paying life points, but I think Cyclone is better.
Yeah, I think
overall.
I think that's where I'm at. There's just too much, and because like yeah, there might not be a ton of stuff that floats in, you know, the best decks. I guess you could banish Seer, although I think you'd probably want to hold it for either the activation of the Void Vanishment is the continuous spell, right?
Yep.
Yeah, you'd want to hold it for the activation of the Vanishment, so that doesn't really matter. But like Amazonas, obviously it's not a meta deck, but I fought it in Legend on my Cog Climb, so it's worth mentioning that you are going to fight a lot of decks that aren't the tiered decks, and so much of that stuff floats. Breakthrough Skill floats, kind of, in terms of they can negate your...
Oh, Skill Successor! This stuff Skill Successor! Yeah, it's better.
Yeah, you're right. Let's talk about some good-ass quick play spells. Econ and Lance. I think Econ has moved... This is actually a good point to sort of talk about how the limit list affects things. Tretch can still win games on its own. I think enemy controller is suboptimal right now. I don't think you would ever play enemy controller over Tretch.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think that's true. I think like if you wouldn't play Tretch, you'd probably play Monster Reborn, unless you're on like Rhoda or Full Metal Force Fusion or Luster Pendleton, the true pendulum guy. There's no reason to not play your archetypal limited one card, and if there's no reason to not play Tretch or Monster Reborn, and just no reason to play Econ.
Yeah, what a shame. As someone who thinks
such a cool card,
that Salamangreat just feels like ass without its main play, I would really like to see Gazelle, Roar, and Enemy Controller back to 2, because I only think Enemy Controller was an actual problem in Salamangreat. In any other deck, let them have 2 copies of this thing. Hopefully we see it back. Not like Tretch.
Yeah, I don't want Roar back, but I think like Enemy Controller could come back to 2. I'm not sure why it was put to 1 to begin with.
To keep Salamangreat off it, right?
Forbidden Lens is strong.
I like Forbidden Lands a lot. I think
Yeah, no, you're right.
when Roar was around, I thought it was way worse. But now I think there's an argument that Roar is as playable as these three because a lot of the best shit, IDP, Warning Point, Crackdown, Compulse, is something that you can blank with this card.
I don't think it's better than MSC or Cyclone, but I think it's really playable. There's also the Sky Striker card that was added
That's not a
before the
fucking
extra monster
staple.
zone. No, it was added after. Sky
Jamming
Striker
Waves.
Eagle Maneuver, that's like flanks for very specifically
Oh,
the extra
yeah.
monster zone. It's probably suboptimal, so
I
it's a
mean,
good thing
yeah,
it's not there.
it's playable exclusively in trains, apparently. These are weird cards because they're both well, this card I'm gonna put suboptimal, probably above Enemy
Yeah.
Controller just because it's off the list. But Darkhold doesn't even necessarily feel game winning.
It is game winning.
It's
To me, it is game winning. I'm playing Infernoids, dude.
Yeah.
You flip Darkhold against me. I don't have a Searing Grave.
Yeah.
I lose.
Yeah.
I just fucking lose. I've started sending on Nomku with Decatron just so I don't get blown up by Darkhold. But then what? I don't have my fucking spell trap negate anymore. No, it's a ball breaking card. Definitely game winning. Lightning Vortex was like fringe playable only because you needed a discard, but it was still good in like decks that didn't care for it, like BAs. Arguably, not DDDs didn't really need it. Maybe Rose Dragon and stuff to out the Yazi in the mirror, but Heroes definitely. But it's suboptimal now because Darkhold exists, and Darkhold is going to be like the best board clear until Raigeki gets released. Oh shit! I just realized that there's no needle sealing. Is there?
Yeah, I thought Needle Sealing is in a weird spot because I feel like it's only really seeing play right now, and it's in a very select number of decks. I feel like you're not going to put Needle Sealing in like Mech Knight or anything. It's very specifically like a Salamangreat card, or
I think Trickstars maybe. People that were saying that needle sealing is good in Rockets were definitely coping. In my opinion, it's much better to go for more aggressive plays with Rockets. You could plug in Noids. Yeah, that's bad though. That's a bad idea. Don't do that.
And the reason I took Needle Sealing out is because, well, you do play Needle Sealing in Salamangreat. Now that Darkhold came out, you can just put another Baling's Engrave on turn 3 if you go first, and then use Darkhold then. So Darkhold has a lot of the same applications as Needle Sealing, where it doesn't necessarily stop your opponent mid-combo, but it is the best board wipe. I would, if we would have Needle Sealing on the list, I'd put Needle Sealing at like the bottom of Strong, maybe above Chalice, and then
put it at like the first echelon of playable.
Yeah, it'd be.
So I think we're on the same page. Yeah.
Bottom of Strong, top of playable. Let's talk about UR hand traps. We're just like splitting everything. We talked about Droll, and then we talked about the other UR hand traps. I think Sphere Karibo is unfortunately penis because, well, there aren't a lot
links.
Well, there aren't a lot of links to stop going first. There are a lot of links that are very good going second. Lancia, I'm gonna put in suboptimal.
I think like Sphere Karibo specifically is like, well, you could activate Sphere Karibo and lose on the next turn, or you could activate Kytroid and lose in 2 turns. So
the only thing that like isn't putting like Sphere Karibo at the bottom of penis is that,
you know what? No, I have some nostalgic affection for Sphere Karibo. Put it in suboptimal.
Okay. All right, just because I like you so much, I'll let it be better than Night Beam.
Yeah, I don't want my ball to be stuck with the penis.
I want to put Lancia in suboptimal as well. I want to say it's. I'm gonna put Pot of Duality above Joel and Locke, and I'm gonna put
Lancia is probably going to be really good in later formats, but right now it's pee pee poo poo. You have to be really proactive with it, and it just doesn't do much.
I want to put Crow at the bottom of game winning or at the top of strong. Maybe behind Cosmic or MST if we're feeling really saucy.
Well, there's decks against which D Crow is not that good. Like, what's your Crow target for Mech Knights, for instance?
The target off of the continuous trap.
I think if you're thinking strong, it's probably bound to get stronger depending on how much graveyard shit we get. Like, as soon as we get Orcust, you Crow there, power, and
same with Lancia, by the way. Lancia is going to be rising in popularity once we get Orcust.
Probably, but is it better than Crow though?
Here's the thing: they can shuffle back their banished cards, assuming we get
that's true.
A Night, either Galatea or whatever, and this does stop them. Granted, Lancey is only on their turn, and also that's not relevant because we don't even know how good Orcus is going to be. They're going to give us they're going to give us no Nightmare and no Babel and no
They're gonna give
Contra.
us Orchestrion and that's it.
Yeah.
No Galatea, no Ding, just Orchestrion.
Let's just get the last of the green cards out here. I want to put this in like the top of playable because I feel like it's worse graveyard hate than Crow.
Yeah, it's the same deal as DD Crow. It's good in formats in which DD Crow would be good, and it's PP poo-poo in formats in which DD Crow is not. The only thing it has going for it over DD Crow is that some decks can search it by making Ancient Fairy Dragon and popping their field spell, like very specifically Black Wings. What's the alternative? You play Gravekeepers? Speaking of which, where would you put Dimfizz?
Oh, that's another limit 3 card. I want to put that in suboptimal.
It's not limited 3, is it?
It sure is.
No way. Dimensional Fissure is not.
It absolutely is.
Limited 3.
Unless
is
you mean
it?
Dimensional Prison, the trap card that's like bad.
No. The continuous. It's not limited 3.
What? It's not?
I guess some Mekk-Knight players cite it in tourneys, but it's only okay. I think it's good if you go first.
Yeah, I would put it in like suboptimal.
I think we can put Karmakot and Raigeki Break together in. Karmakot's probably playable, and Raigeki Break is probably suboptimal at this point.
Yeah, I would put Raigeki Break at the top of suboptimal just because it triggers discards, and it's quick. Yeah, quick speed, gets graveyard set up, and hits monsters and back row. Karmakot bottom of playable just because banishing removal is very good. Like if you hit a Sunlight Wolf with this, it's the end of the game. Honestly.
Yep. Mirror Force is probably suboptimal.
Yeah, I honestly think they're all suboptimal, and it's just like what order you want to put them in. Mirror Wall, I would put at the bottom, just because you have to pay life points for it.
With the amount of like board spamming is probably better, but they're just getting taken care of.
Now you can lower their attack points by 800 times 4 because of the extra monster zone. Ah!
That is true. Wow,
that's crazy. for every monster they control, they lose attack points equal to the amounts they would have gained if they banished Skill Prisoner. Or Skill Successor.
DMF is probably like playable. Just still suboptimal, but it's probably way higher than these two.
Where do we want to put it? Above Temperance then?
Above, like just after Allowed Life Barriers, I think is.
That's fine with me.
Fine. Solemn what? Is it Solemn? No, Scalding it is.
Yeah.
Solemn Scalding. Probably suboptimal.
Where do we want to put it? Definitely it has to be above. No, it's probably below Drowning Mirror Force, honestly, because I don't see people play it as much.
Yeah, it is a total order. Although I've seen it played in
this is actually warning. This is supposed to be Solemn Scalding.
Magical Musketeers because you don't set your hand anyway, so it's probably a bit better than that. It was fine in Resonators, but you could also be playing Treacherous, so why wouldn't you be playing Treacherous? Fiendish Chain? Probably
I want to put it above.
At the very bottom of playable. I think like Breakthrough Steel is better than Fiendish Chain for the most part.
Okay, I can see that. I would put it above Karma Cut, maybe, just because I think I see people play it more.
Yeah, you're probably right, actually.
And then Canadia, we could put it suboptimal because it's like Book of Moon, or we could put it in a higher tier because it is like it's.
I think it's playable, but it's definitely not as good as Floodgate. It's not as good as Karma Cut. It's like probably the worst playable card at this moment. I think
it's better than Galaxy Cyclone.
Well, Karma Cut is probably better than. I think Karma Cut is better than Canadia though. Probably better than Floodgate too. Probably better. No, it's not as good as. I'm reconsidering because you need a discard. Karma Cut's probably fine there. You're right.
All right. Now, I'm just going to assume that both of us agree that at least these three cards all belong in game winning, and it's just a matter of where we want to put them.
I'm really torn about Crackdown. I think it's strong. I think this would probably play it a lot more if it wasn't limited 3, but also I think it's not like good enough to be limited 3, right? I don't know.
It's definitely the weakest of the Trinity. These are the cards I call the Trinity for people who do not know, because they're like these are the 3 limit 3 cards that are at the top of, I think, every person's mind, or should be at the top of every person's mind when making a deck. Like, you should be considering these before you play Battle in Boxer Veil, before you play Floodgate even. Warning Point being not limited 3 sort of pushes Floodgate out of consideration, because if you're playing, like, why would you not play IDP, Compulse, flood
God,
warning point.
fuck IDP.
Yeah.
Speaking of Veil, where would you put it? I think Veil would have been fine in suboptimal.
I think it's better than Kiteroid. Just well, because the
Think
limit
so.
3 list is so much more important nowadays than the
Yeah,
limit 2 list. So I would put it either right behind Kiteroid or yeah, I
I
would
think
put
I
it in
put it in
playable.
suboptimal, but like probably one of the better cards in suboptimal.
Well, because it A makes triggering D draw very easy, which, while not
Yeah,
super important, is only not super important because the anime skills we've gotten have either been A, so busted, or B, the best decks just have so much higher card quality. Like Mech Knight, Salamangreat, Infernoid, and Goki's main deck cards are just so much more powerful than like most other main deck cards, so they don't need an
mm,
anime skill. So that's sort of like, I think you wouldn't even be crazy for playing, like, if they nerf 3 effects like people are talking about, you'd play D-Draw Goki because, like, who fucking cares?
probably, yeah, definitely. I
My
think
thoughts on
like out of
Duel.
the three, Crackdown is the weakest, and
100%.
ITP is the
Yeah.
strongest.
I would put Compulse either right behind Book of Moon or right in front of
Yeah,
Book of Moon. I would put Crackdown either right behind Compulse or right behind Warning Point.
I think Crackdown is worse than running Warning Points on the account of being limited 3 almost exclusively.
Um,
And
and then IDP, I would.
IDP is like, if we're talking about the best card in the game, I think it's either IDP or Book of Moon, right?
Yep. I'm glad you mentioned that because I made the best tier in the game because I was gonna, after we like, this is what I think it would look like. I was gonna say something along the lines of this is the best card, best staple card in the game. I think. I don't think
Probably right, yeah.
like Book of Moon is definitely more flexible. This solos Goki. This solos
A
Infernoid.
lot of
Yeah.
decks. The fact that this is just essentially banish
Two.
non-targeting 2 from
Mhm.
grave is when one from grave and one from the field is just heartbreaking. There's no other word
Yeah.
for
And
it.
for those people who were playing way back in the beginning of the game where you would econ take for lethal, you can do that with this because you don't have to banish what you take back, and your opponent doesn't have to control a monster.
Yeah, the fact you can also do that, that's really flexible,
Yeah.
honestly. You can also use just to clear the field, and if it wasn't a trap, if it was a quick play, it'd probably be the single most broken card in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! But not all of Yu-Gi-Oh! But be right up there.
I agree with your takes on this. I don't think there's any card in the game as strong as IDP. I think that, like, genuinely this card should not be in the game. It
Yeah,
doesn't make the game more fun. It makes unsearchable 3 of back row even better.
yeah.
Which, and that's another reason why I like Goki. I keep talking about it. It's just like I don't want the best thing even combo decks can to be doing is setting a hard drawn piece of back row. Like, it's so frustrating. I really wish this card didn't come. It doesn't make the game any, doesn't really change the game. It just ramps up the power of the best kind of card in the game.
Yeah, basically this. It's just disruption that you can't really interact with. Like you get like nowadays you get treacherous trap hold. You have some graveyard protection, monsters that float potentially. You don't have that with IGP. IGP is basically the new Dredge. Holy shit.
And because it was printed as a UR, they're never going to put it at anything lower than 3. Really toxic card, absolutely best main deck staple in the game. These are the tier lists, of course. Best cards, game-winning cards, strong cards, playable cards, suboptimal cards, and penis cards.
And once
Honestly,
again,
I'm
if we
feeling
forgot
like
anything, let us know in the comments. If you disagree, let us know in the comments. If you've had a nice day, let us know in the comments. And yeah, that's
yeah.
all I had to say.
Thank you so much for being a part of this, Mechlord. This was a ton of fun. I'm really glad we could do this.
Thank you for having me. I'm really glad that we ended up agreeing on most of these, except Skill Successor. Why is it at the bottom of penis again? Hold on, let me read the card. Oh yeah, no, definitely.
100%. So if you enjoyed this tier list, look forward to, in a few days, me and Mechlord will reconvene the top player council to evaluate the tier list of the best extra deck staple cards, and that will be uploaded to Mechlord's channel. So make sure to subscribe to their channel if you are not already subscribed. Thank you so much for
Yeah, this sounds
watching.
like fun.
Yeah, this was a ton of fun, and I'm looking forward to doing it again. Thank you so much.
And see you in a couple days.
Bye-bye.